Dr. King understood that peace without justice was no peace at all. If he were alive today, I believe he would remind us that the unemployed worker can rightly challenge the excesses of Wall Street without demonizing all who work there.
That, of course, President Obama yesterday at the dedication of the Martin Luther King Jr. National Memorial in Washington. His reelection campaign now seeking to capitalize on the occupation energy for its own gain in 2012. Not a surprise to see this, much as Republicans sought to capitalize on the Tea Party energy during the midterms. But is this really a lefty-righty issue? And when the issue is breach of fairness and lack of integrity in our banking system that has been prevailed over by not only this president, but a series of predecessor presidents, are we not fooling ourselves to absorb ourselves into a nonsensical lefty-righty paradigm for an issue that is truly forwards or backwards, either corrupt or not? With us now is David DeGraw, editor of AmpedStatus.com, author of the 6-part investigative series, The Economic Elite versus the People of the United States, and a man who has been in occupation in Zuccotti Park since the first day, the 17th. It's been a month. How you feeling?
Exhausted, standing at the end of a fire hose here.
Give us a sense, because and I want to do this not just with you, but with a series of folks that I've met down there, who all are really, I tell the audience all the time, I'm telling you, everybody's there for a different reason. Why are you down there?
Well, from a personal perspective, I'm here because to really defend my family, to defend my friends, and to defend this country against what I consider to be global financial interests that have taken control of both the Democratic and Republican parties through a campaign finance, lobbying, the revolving door between Washington and Wall Street, as you always cover. They have bought control of our government. They have rigged our economic system against hardworking American people.
Why is that not a left or right issue?
Well, because, this, as we say, 99% of the population has lost political representation. This is breaking it down even further. It's 1/10 of 1% of the population that is responsible, in my view, and in the view of many others, for trillions of dollars of fraudulent activity. And when I say global financial interests, I want to be a little more specific, okay? You take people like Tim Geithner, Ben Bernanke, Lloyd Blankfein, Jamie Dimon, Hank Paulson, certainly. These people are personally responsible for trillions of dollars of fraudulent activity. They have set our economic future on fire. And it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican, whatever your political viewpoint might be, your economic future has been set on fire by these people, by these too-big-to-fail banks. So we are here to defend the American people in the absence of a government that will defend us.
And I can't think of anybody who is more appropriate to take up the gauntlet that you just laid down than one of the chief prosecutors in the banking system in America, historically William Black, associate professor now of economics at the University of Missouri, and professor. Did you hear David's characterization?
I did.
How would you critique it, and what can be done? What could we do that is not inside of a political paradigm, but is inside of a legal paradigm, a just versus fraudulent paradigm that could be done?
Well, let me bring your two comments together, because we're speaking here from the heartland of the United States, and the most prominent person in finance in Kansas City, a rock-ribbed conservative Republican, used the exact phrase. He said, "We put the Treasury Secretary up for auction, and lately Goldman Sachs has been the highest bidder." So this is not a left-right. It's not Republican-Democrat. It's honest folks against the elite frauds who now cheat with impunity. And the biggest victims of those frauds, of course, are the homeowners, but the second biggest victims are the honest bankers, the ones that can't compete with the frauds.
If you were to be put in a situation, which I honestly think a lot of folks would like to see you in, where you could advocate a path to begin resolution to fix some of this, which obviously the left-right political paradigm is not equipped to do, how would you advise the rest of us?
Well, the first thing is get rid of the systemically dangerous institutions. These are the 20 biggest banks that the administration and the last administration told us as soon as the next one goes down, there's going to be another global crisis. Well, there's nobody serious who doesn't actually work for one of those banks who believes they're an efficient size. In other words, they're way too big. If we shrink them, we make them more efficient, we dramatically reduce the risk of the next crisis, and we produce greater employment and less fraud. That's a win-win-win. We need to do that first. The second thing is you need to fire Geithner, you need to fire Holder, and you need to demand Bernanke's resignation. And you need to replace them with people that will actually enforce the laws for the 99.
The interesting thing, David, and we've seen this, and I think all of us, whether you have lived through Bill Black's last few years or yours or mine, and a lot of other folks that have been working on this issue in this country through their own means, we have seen that the dependency of the power base, in this case it's Obama and Geithner, but in fairness to Obama and Geithner, it was Bush and Paulson before that, and before that it was Clinton and Rubin, and so people look at this like, oh, well, you don't like Barack Obama. No, they all have one thing in common, which is they refuse to engage in the conversation publicly that we're having right here. Why ultimately do you think we have been so prevented from being able to have this conversation at the highest levels of our country?
Well, look, let's just be real here, okay? I mean, this is a criminal racket that has paid off politicians since the Clinton administration. Moving forward, I believe, and Will Black can speak to it much more eloquently, that these people should be prosecuted under RICO laws, the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act, which was designed to prosecute the mafia. I mean, we essentially have a criminal mafia Wall Street racket that needs to be prosecuted in this country.
Do you agree with that, Bill?
Well, for technical reasons, you just add to your burden of proof when you do that. But we can prosecute them under the existing fraud laws for very conventional fraud. Look, the FBI warned over 7 years ago that there was an epidemic of mortgage fraud and predicted that it would cause an economic crisis. There's no excuse. We've had over 7 years to deal with open frauds. Only about a month ago, the Federal Housing Finance Administration filed fraud complaints, civil ones, against 17 of the largest banks in the world, in which it said there is a paper trail that demonstrates the fraudulent intent of these banks. Well, where is the Justice Department? And for that matter, where's Paul Krugman, who can't be bothered to use the F word? This is the 5-letter F word you can use in public. It's called fraud, and until the economists get over their silly tribal taboo against using the word fraud and actually supporting us in prosecuting the frauds, we're never going to make progress.
David, your last word.
Bill, real quick, I'd like to take this opportunity. I've been in conversation with a lot of people down at Liberty Park and throughout this country occupying locations, and we would love to nominate you as a kind of de facto Attorney General, the Occupy Wall Street Department of Justice. If you can come down to one of our General Assemblies throughout the country and propose some enforcement actions that we could stand by and line up behind, that would be greatly appreciated. You are perhaps the greatest white-collar crime expert there is, so we need you, and we'd love to have you come down.
I'd be happy to serve. We're here yesterday doing it in Kansas City.
There you go. Thank you.
It's an honor to share this conversation with both of you. Thank you for giving me the privilege of hosting the two of you. And I hope that the relationship that you just proposed comes to fruition. And I hope that I get the pleasure of covering Bill Black's prosecution of the banks in 2012 or some version thereof. Professor Black, thank you. David, congratulations on your own courage and your own investment in defending the principles that we all see are being affected.
Thank you. Right back at you, man. You're the one guy on TV I trust.
Cool. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Bill.